2024 has saw lots of new EVs, especially from the Chinese brands coming into our market. But unfortunately, despite the large influx, there are not many out there that is priced reasonably, especially for our small motors out here. But fortunately, we've got this. This is, of course, the BYD M6 in its baseline standard range form. And in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why this is the best entry-level EV for you and your family. Okay, well, mukrisu desu. Yokoso, caricarz. My name is Muklis. Welcome back to Caricarz. Right, take one look at the BYD M6 and you'll notice that this is a throwback of an MPV because it looks very similar to many compact MPVs of the past, especially from the 2000s, like the Honda Odyssey, Toyota Wish, and of course the Toyota Avanza too. Despite this being a base spec model, the M6 Standard comes with a pretty decent equipment, including these full LED headlights and taillights. And if you move to the side, it comes with this 17-inch wheel, which is the same unit used on the extended range. And in terms of overall design, it got this sleek roofline that goes all the way to the back, and despite its sleek look, actually got a pretty decent ground clearance of 140mm. Alright, in terms of dimension, you can see overall it's a pretty big car, but not too big because it measures over 4.7 meters long, so slightly longer than things like the Toyota Veloz, the Toyota Avanza, or even the Mitsubishi Xpander, but still not as big as something like the Innova or maybe the Nissan Serena. So overall, it looks safe, but it's pretty nice, right? Alright, so the reason number 2 is because of its well-equipped cabin, even for a supposed baseline variant. Well, inside the BYD M6 Standard here, you get tons of amenities, but of course, you also get some obvious shortcomings or compromises. Okay, for example, the 12.8-inch infotainment display is quite nice. It is rotatable, but it also supports wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But unfortunately, you still get this semi-digital instrument cluster with analog dials, with the only screen part being in the middle. Okay, same goes to the seats. It is plushly wrapped in this fake leather material, which feels quite good, but unfortunately the 2 front seats doesn't come with power adjustment, let alone vented or heated functions. As well, as you can see, all the hard plastics in the front dash also makes the car feel a bit cheap compared to other EVs out there. And another thing I like about the car is actually it really feels a bit traditional because you still got physical buttons, especially at the center here. You still got buttons for the regen, the drive mode, the driving related functions, but unfortunately for the climate control, you still need to use the infotainment screen here. So like I said, a mix of good and bad, but one thing I really like is the wireless and the Auto CarPlay. You don't need to update this kind of thing. It comes standard in a box. Life at the second row of the BYD M6 Standard is also quite decent and spacious because as you can see, I'm standing 175 cm tall and I still got plenty of legroom and many headroom up here, so meaning that space is definitely not a problem in this EV MPV. On top of that, you also get amenities including dedicated USB charging ports, a dedicated blower for your rear vents, which comes in the second and also in the third row. And life at the third row seat of the BYD M6 can be a bit tight, but it's okay because 2 adults can sit here in a fairly comfortable manner, but for a short time only. Not ideal for long distance travel because as you can see, my legs are a bit up here, so it's not the most comfortable position for long distance travel. But one thing I like about the car, despite it doesn't come with a sliding door, the door aperture for the M6 is quite big and large, so much so you can easily jump into the third row. No need to hassle for space and whatnot. Despite being an entry-level variant for the BYD M6, the standard model here gets a pretty decent powertrain setup. Okay, for the standard model here, it uses a single front-mounted electric motor setup rated at 161 HP and 310 Nm of torque, allowing this car to go from 0 to 100 in about 10.1 seconds and a top speed of 180 km per hour. Yes, those numbers might sound a little bit timid for an EV standard, but it is more than enough to power this family MPV in a smooth and comfortable manner. Okay, since this car uses the same E-Platform 3.0 as the Atto 3, it also uses the same 55.4 kWh LFP blade battery pack, granting it up to 420 km of maximum EV range, at least according to the NEDC standard. But according to the more realistic WLTP standard, this car can go around 350 to 360 km in a single full charge, which is more than enough for your daily trips with your family and even to your occasional out-of-state trips, maybe not so far. Alright, so in terms of cargo, according to BYD, the M6 comes standard with an 180 liters boot space, which is actually slightly bigger compared to other compact MPVs out there. But of course, if you need an extra space, you can just fold down the third row seats, allowing up to 580 liters of space for you and your family to use. Convenient. Alright, since the M6 underpins the same 400-volt architecture as the Atto 3, it also gets the same charging speed as the Atto 2 standard model. Okay, AC charging unfortunately is capped at only 7 kW, but DC is capped at 89 kW, which is quite decent, given that most of DC chargers out there only capped at 100 or 150 kW. So theoretically, with the 55.4 kWh battery pack, this car can charge from 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes or so, which is quite standard if you ask me. Well, enough talk, let's drive. Right, the next reason is in terms of driving, because although its power output 161 HP and 310 Nm of torque may sound a bit subdued compared to other powerful EVs out there, I find the BYD M6 Standard drives pretty smoothly and refined, and you got more than enough power, especially to overtake people and all, thanks to the rapid acceleration EVs tend to get, because 310 Nm of torque is quite high, especially for an EV MPV of this size. But other than that, what impressed me the most about this car is how smooth and refined the ride and comfort really is, because of course this is a family-oriented MPV. It feels quite refined, not too bumpy, not too wobbly like many other Chinese EVs we tested before, but at the same time, of course, you cannot expect it to be as planted or sure-footed like sportier EVs we've tested before. So in terms of handling and everything, it feels quite balanced, it feels quite safe, and at the same time, I mean, it's not that exciting, but it's good. It's not wobbly, it's not like too flimsy and whatnot. It's okay, it's a decent, it's solid. That's more important part. But what other good things also in terms of the NVH level, because of course this being an EV, you don't have any engine rumbles to worry about. But in terms of wind noise suppression, it's also quite good, because you only notice loud wind sounds when you go above 140 km/h speed, which is, of course, that's quite fast. But other than that, passenger comfort is quite good at the back seat, because most EV, the passenger comfort is not that good because of the unsprung weight and the wobbliness and all. But in the M6, it's okay, it's acceptable. But one thing that I really find impressive is actually the tire, because they use this GT Pro tire and it's quite okay. The noise suppression is quite good, surprisingly, because most EVs, they use longer lasting tire because of the rolling resistance. Most of them are not that quiet. You can really hear the tire noises, quite frankly, but not in the M6. It's quite minimal. Okay, but unfortunately, in terms of safety, the BYD M6 Standard does not come with any ADAS functions whatsoever. So no ADAS, no ACC, you only got standard cruise control, no AEB, no blind spot monitoring, nada. But it's okay, because it is being supplemented with a decent list of passive safeties. That you got 6 airbags, you got 3-point seatbelts for all 7 occupants, and you also get 360 camera view, which is quite nice to have for this entry-level car, and a TPMS, so that if you have any puncture, the car can automatically detect it immediately. So overall, yes, the drive is quite okay. It's not nothing too super, nothing too out of this world, but it's okay, it's comfortable, it's decent enough for you and family. But unfortunately, the lack of any ADAS function might be a bit of turn off for some of you out there, but at least you got a decent list of passive safety equipment. And of course, the fifth and the final reason why I think the BYD M6 Standard is the best entry-level EV for you and family is because of its very affordable price tag, because the standard range model here starts at only 109,800, making it on par with many other less practical, smaller compact EVs out there. Not to forget, you also get a comprehensive warranty package provided by BYD Sign Motors, and this car is actually quite popular because according to BYD Malaysia, they have garnered over 1,000 bookings in the first few months of the booking commencement for this MPV. Goes to show that our market is really starving for an affordable, family-friendly EV MPV like this. So hopefully the popularity of the M6 will garner more and more Chinese brands out there to come out with their own iteration. But other than that, in case you're in a market for a family MPV but you don't mind trying to jump into the EV bandwagon, then look no further than the BYD M6 Standard range.